done processing the rescues. Just a few more to go. Where are you from, little one? Ah, here we are. A Homo sapien. And they're from... That's interesting. It doesn't even have a name in our system. How did you get on a smuggling ship? Poor thing. From the data, they're still relatively young. No signs of augmentation, so they can't be from a highly advanced civilization. Thawing you out of cryo-sleep. Now. Hello. Judging by your diagnostics, my name is not pronounceable to you, but you can call me Veth. You were found during a raid on a smuggler's ship, and it will be my job to help you get home. Not quite yet, human. I'm afraid there's some procedures I need to take you through before you can be returned to your planet of origin. And don't worry, they're purely for your own benefit. This ship is part of an outreach project. I'm only interested in helping you get home in a healthy condition, without any lasting effects of your abduction. Speaking of which, do you recall how you arrived on that ship? According to my data, you're not native to any system from around here, or even frequently seen. That's awful. Well, you don't have to worry about them anymore. In fact, once you get home, you won't even have to think of this experience ever again, if you don't want to. No, I'm afraid I don't speak your language. I'm using a translator that we developed by scanning your brain. What I'm actually saying would probably mean very little to you. In theory, the voice being used by the translator should be one that's audibly pleasing to you. Let me know if that's not the case and I can adjust it. All good? Wonderful. Well, the conditions you were kept under while on the ship were unsanitary at best, so I will need to check you for any form of parasite that you may have contracted. The scans would have picked up any internal parasites, but I will need to check for any external ones myself. First, I will need to check through your hair. Wonderful. If you hold still, I will be able to check your scalp for any foreign bodies or any unusual activity. I did notice you scratching at your head while you were in the containment chamber, so I suspect... Ah, here we are. No, don't worry. This is easily fixed. Now, you are about to hear a quiet humming, and you might experience a tingling sensation on your scalp. There's no need to worry. It just means that the device is scanning through your hair and removing any foreign bodies that it finds. In fact, by the end of the process, your hair should probably be the cleanest it's ever been. That's right. Just hold still for me. Almost there. There we go. All gone. Don't you feel more comfortable now? Wonderful. Just let me quickly check over the rest of you to make sure we don't miss any other external parasites, and then we can move on to removing the trackers and other nasty devices they put inside of you. Shh. It's all right. I promise it will be easy, and then we can deliver you straight home. I'm not seeing anything else. Wonderful. Given the conditions you were kept in, it's a miracle you only had one type of parasite to remove. I've had to deal with far worse today. Now, do you remember I just mentioned we need to remove some things that were implanted in you by the smugglers? Well, unfortunately, the group that you were taken by like to implant trackers and identification chips into their cargo. Ordinarily, we wouldn't remove them since it's a invasive process, but the metals they use degrade over time and produce a toxic substance. So unfortunately, we need to remove them now in order to avoid that problem later down the line. Don't worry, it will be painless. You were given anesthetics while in hypersleep, so you shouldn't feel a thing. Now, some people find watching their own surgery disturbing, so if you don't feel comfortable watching the procedure, you don't have to. Wonderful. Then I shall begin. According to the scans, I need to make my first incision in the shoulder. There should be an identification chip somewhere close to the skin. They can't place them too deep or they can't be scanned properly, which usually makes them easier to find and remove. Ah, there we are. Now, just hold still so I can just... There we go. Now I just need to seal the incision. There we are. Just like new. Next, the secondary chip should be located in the leg. Ah, here we are. Again, just hold still while I just... There we go. And... Got it. Great. That should be the chips removed. Next, I just need to get the trackers. This will be a little more complicated. I'm going to need to open and search your torso. Shh, 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 shh. I promise this won't be any more difficult than the chips. All you need to do is continue lying still and allow me to find and remove the trackers. Unfortunately, they're a bit more difficult. They're often placed deeper in the body since they don't need to be close to the skin. And since we don't have the proper keys to decode the signal, our scanners can't detect exactly where they are. So, I'm going to need to find them manually. They should be fairly obvious. They tend to be rather large. If you've been noticing any discomfort, that's probably why. They don't tend to care too much about how it feels having metal boxes placed amongst your organs. But, on the bright side, that does make them easier to find and remove. Now, I just need to make an incision down the torso. There we go. Now that is an interesting sight. I've not seen organs arranged like this before. They're so cramped together. Interesting. Now, let me just take a record of how they're supposed to be organized, just in case I have to rearrange them a little. Wonderful. I'll take a look at that recording later. Your anatomy is fascinating. But for now, let's focus on removing those trackers. We don't want anyone else coming after you, now do we? I'm not feeling anything in here. I hope they haven't put it inside one of your organs. I had to remove one from inside of a stomach earlier. Careless, really. The stomach acid had already started to break down the casing, and it was already poisoning the subject. Not that they care, as long as they make easy money. Monsters. But I'd rather not perform any complex procedures like that before I can confirm they haven't just loosely placed it around the organs like normal. Have you felt any sharp edges poking from the inside? Interesting. Could you gesture to where you felt it? Try not to move your torso. Here? Wonderful. Let me take a look. That feels like something. Aha! Found it. There you are, nasty thing. Hold still while I just... There we go. Do you see this? This was the tracker they put inside of you. That must feel a lot better already. It's about as large as your heart. You poor thing. They don't bother to adjust the size based on species, which means for larger species they don't cause too much discomfort. But for smaller ones like you, I don't even want to think about what having this inside you would feel like. But, luckily for you, we've removed it, and you should be perfectly fine with no long-term side effects. Probably. I actually haven't performed this procedure on a human before. Come to think of it, it may be for the best to keep an eye on you, just to make sure. But I'm getting ahead of myself, especially while you're still open. Now, I just want to make sure there isn't anything inside you before I close you up again. Sometimes they leave duplicate trackers or other devices inside higher value cargo. And since humans are incredibly rare in this system, there's a very good chance that... Aha! Good thing I looked. Right here behind the intestines, I can feel something metallic. Sneaky. Not sneaky enough, though. I'm just going to gently try and move it. That's not moving. I don't want to pull on it in case it damages something inside of you. I'm going to try to move the intestines out of the way to get a better look. You're doing a great job. I just need you to hold extra still for this. If I just move them, like so, I should be able to get a better look. I'm going to need some light. They fused it with your flesh. They really didn't want me removing this. But what is it? I've not seen anything like this before. It almost looks like... Wait. I think I know what this is. But it can't be. Even for smugglers, that's barbaric. A human. It's an explosive device. I've heard stories about these, but I've never seen one in person. They're rigged to explode if you get too far away from a detonator. They're supposed to be used to destroy confidential records if stolen, or to prevent dangerous weapons from falling into the wrong hands. But to use them on a living creature... It's a good thing we decided to perform the removal procedure on site rather than trying to fly you to a medical center. I'm going to have to cut away the skin it's attached to in order to remove this. If I make a cut along here, here, and here, I should be able to safely remove it without removing too much skin. There we go. I need to have this sent out of the airlock before the ship moves. But it does beg the question, why did they have this in the first place? And why did they put it inside you? You didn't know about it, so it can't have been to use it as a threat. Were they worried about you getting out? It just doesn't make any sense. I need to do more research. There has to be something bigger at play here. None of the other rescues are rigged like this. Why did they specifically put it in the human? Sorry, I got distracted. That should be everything. We can leave things here and get you ready for hypersleep. I'll start by sealing up the incision. Don't worry, there won't be any scarring. Now, I'm going to need to place you back into cryosleep while I take care of the other rescues. And afterwards we need to keep you on the ship for a few days just to run some tests to make sure there aren't any lingering side effects. And then we can send you back home. In the meantime, you'll be able to help me fill in some information about your homeworld. Speaking of which, do you have a name for it? In our system it hasn't been named yet. Earth. Interesting. Now, you are going to feel a slight twinge of cold and then start to fall asleep. When you wake up, we will have left this site and will be closer to civilized planets where we can pick up some supplies to take care of you properly while you're under our supervision. But for now, rest well, human. You've earned it. Computer, show me all records we have on humans.